Welcome back. We've got another Spanish one today, and it is related to the last one that we did. Today we're talking about La Furia del Hombre Lobo, which means the fury of the wolfman. Once again, we have Paul Naschy, or Jacinto Molina Álvarez, who has written and stars in this movie. It's the third existing movie with Waldemar Daninsky, the Wolfman, although it doesn't seem to connect to the previous two movies, and those two movies didn't seem to connect to each other very much either. Because in this movie, we've got our friendly werewolf, and he seems to be a professor at a university, and he has a wife. He also has an ex-girlfriend that we've never seen before either. So it's confusing right off the bat because I was expecting it to connect to the other two, and it kind of does. Then to make it more confusing, very early on in the movie there is a dream sequence, and the dream sequence is Waldemar being told that he became a werewolf because he was bitten by a yeti in Tibet. Well, now that really makes no sense because in the previous movie, Mark of the Wolfman, he was bitten by a werewolf who had the last name of Wolfstein, who changed his name from Frankenstein, but then again that was only in the American version because they were obligated to have a Frankenstein tie into the plot. Anyway, let's look past all that. So what else happens in this movie? Well, he turns into a werewolf very early on and kills his wife and his wife's lover. So he kills both of them and then dies. But he can't really die unless he's killed with a silver bullet by a woman who also dies for him. So that part's the same as before. So he's revived by his ex, who then promises that she will try to remove the curse and that she knows how to do this. So he goes along with it, but what she really ends up doing is basically locking him up and experimenting on him and using him to kill people that she doesn't necessarily like. So we've got all that going on, plus when she locks him up, there's these other weirdo creature things down there, including a guy that looks like Michael Myers from Halloween, even though that hadn't been created yet, and other sorts of weird corpse type people. In between all these scenes are other scenes, and there's people trying to figure out what's going on with the werewolf, and it was really hard to follow. Also, the dubbing is really below average. Usually you don't get great acting in dubbing anyway, but here it's like extra bad. Even though it's on Amazon Prime, the quality is very bad. I don't really understand this. This movie's on Amazon Prime, but Monsters of Terror is rentable on Amazon for $2. Both of them are in terrible quality. The movies have never been restored from the original quality, like VHS quality or whatever. It's not even VHS quality because there was no such thing as VHS back then, but quality is very poor. And then the first movie in the series isn't available to stream anywhere. Just watched it on YouTube. And I noticed that the fourth movie is only available to buy on Amazon for $10, so I'll probably just hunt down a physical copy on that one. Anyway, all sorts of weird stuff goes on in this movie. It's hard to follow. Things don't make sense. At one point, he's locked up and chained up in the basement. Another point, he's not. At one point, he's reading a diary and finds out that he is being manipulated, but then like later he's locked up and he can't get out. His ex ends up resurrecting his wife that he had killed and turns her into a werewolf. And then the two werewolves fight, the male and the female. And then at the end, just like the other two movies, he ends up getting shot by a silver bullet and dying. So he keeps dying at the end of each movie. And in the second movie, he's resurrected by having the bullet removed from his body. He comes back to life. In this one, they don't even bother explaining how he is alive. Like, he was killed in the previous one, and now he's alive again. And he's a professor. And he's married. And he has an ex-girlfriend that is somehow important. I don't know. Part of me wants to give it, like, the benefit of the doubt and think that maybe the fact that it's a Spanish movie and I had to watch a dubbed version, maybe something got lost in translation. But then I was reading that Jacinto Molina Álvarez said that his friend started directing it and then had to leave. And then the replacement director was an alcoholic and, like, a horrible person. So I guess we're going to blame it on that guy. His name was Jose Sabalza. Jose Sabalza. I don't think he really did anything else of note. Yeah, so that's really it. I'm going to have to give this a 4 out of 10. The effects look like they would have been good, except the quality is very poor. And as far as I know, there's no way to see a good quality. I did see that last year they were going to put out a Blu-ray of this. But if a Blu-ray exists, I'm not sure why Amazon Prime doesn't have a copy of a restored version. So I'm not really sure on that. So yeah, 4 out of 10 because it was obviously cool makeup effects. Oh, another problem with this movie is that they recycle some scenes and a lot of the music from the first one. Like, some exact scenes that I guess they didn't film enough of the movie, so they padded it out. And some of the death sequences were actually from the first movie. I forgot to mention, this movie was made in 1970, but it didn't come out until, some sources say 1972, and other sources say 1974 or 1975. But the reason why we're doing it now and not in 1972 is because the fourth movie, the one after this, was officially released in 1971 and did very well. This one hadn't been released yet, even though it was made before that. And then the fourth one did so well that they, like, put out the third one later. So I guess the distributors recognized the fact that this one was really bad because they didn't even release the movie until later when I guess people were hungry for more of this Wolfman. So it probably would have been better off if this remained lost, but since it was made in 1970 and chronologically comes before the movie that came out in 1971, I figured I'd stick it in here. So that's it for the Fury of the Wolfman, and we're going to revisit Jacinto Molina Álvarez and see him play Waldemar Daninsky once again when we look at 1971. Okay, see you next time.